Hi, how are you? So in this video, I'm going to describe how to use one of these super USB cassette capture devices. Basically, it looks like a cassette Walkman, very similar to the cassette Walkmans that we had back in the 80s. And I've done videos on this device in the past explaining how to use them, but I've had a lot of messages from people asking if I could please do a step-by-step description, kind of explaining very clearly in a very step-by-step fashion how exactly does it work. Well, it's pretty straightforward. Even if you're not very technical, even if this kind of thing intimidates you, really, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, the best way I can put it is if you can operate a cassette Walkman and if you can operate a cassette recorder, you can do this. There's really nothing to it. So basically, we connect this device, and this comes under a lot of different brand names, but it's basically the same thing. Again, there's a lot of different manufacturers who sell this type of device, and they may vary slightly from model to model, but basically it's the same exact thing. So I'm going to show you basically step by step how this thing works. So step number one, the very first thing you need to do, this unit comes with a very special cable, and this is what the cable looks like. So you have this end which goes to a standard USB connection. So this smaller end is going to plug into the cassette player, and this other end is going to go into your laptop. Now my laptop is off camera right now, but don't worry, I'll show you that in detail later on. And really the reason why you do this, well, it serves two reasons. One, it enables you to transfer music from the cassette onto your laptop, but it also gives power to this unit. This unit can run on two AA batteries, or it can run from the power generated from this cable when you connect it to your laptop. So the very first thing I'm going to do, you can see here on the end we have a headphone jack, and we have this little port here, and that's where I'm going to plug in the small end of the cable, like so, and just like that. And again, I'm going to plug this other end into the USB port on my laptop. Now I'll also mention very quickly, you have the controls for the player down here on the side. So you have play, you have fast forward and rewind. And that's all you really need to know. There's a bunch of other buttons that will change the direction of the tape and all of that, but don't worry about those right now. Really, all you got to worry about right now would be play, stop, fast forward, and rewind. Okay, so you've got the cable plugged in. That's step number one. Step number two, put your cassette inside the player. And I have my cassette here. This is an old mixtape that I made way back in the day, back in the 80s. And off to the side here, there's a little slide, a gray slide, and you basically push that down and the door will pop open, just like that. Very simple. Take your cassette, put it in the player like so, close the door, and now you're pretty much ready to transfer your information from your cassette onto your laptop. Now, again, you're almost halfway there basically by the time you do this. The next most important thing is that you need to have a program on your laptop. For example, I have Audacity. And Audacity is a program that you can download for free. It's available on the internet for free. You don't have to use Audacity, but any sort of basic software that you can use to record audio, that's what you need. And it can be Audacity, or it could be something very similar to it. But that's what I'm going to use on my laptop that I'm going to show you in a moment. So basically, step number three is to start Audacity, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got Audacity open on my laptop. I'm kind of zoomed in to the top of the program because there's something very specific that I want to show you. This is the next step that you should make sure you check before you start to do any actual recording. But as you can see, and again, this is an older version of Audacity. If you download a new one, it may not look exactly like this, but I'm sure it's going to look very, very similar. And as I've said before, if you've ever operated a tape recorder, you can use Audacity. It's pretty much the same controls. If you look up there in the top left, you have pause, play, stop, rewind, fast forward, and record. That circle with the red circle in the middle of it, that is record. Now, something extremely, extremely important, and if you don't check this and if you don't make sure this is set, it won't work. You have to make sure the input setting is correct. So on my version of Audacity, it's this box right here, right in the middle. And if I click on that, I'm going to move my mouse and click on that, you might have a couple of options of what your input is. And if it's not set to the correct setting, it's not going to recognize your cassette player and the recording's not going to work. For this particular model, it has to be set on Microsoft Sound Mapper. Yeah, so you want to make sure, again, it might be slightly different with your tape player, but with mine, it has to say Microsoft Sound Mapper input. If that's set on that particular setting, it should work. Okay, so right now we're going to do like a test recording, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see the whole screen for Audacity. Okay, so I've zoomed out a little bit more, and like I said, we're going to do a test recording. So now you can see my laptop, but the cassette player is off screen, but I'm going to very clearly tell you what I'm doing. So the next step, we want to do a test recording. So we're going to hit that little circle with the red circle in the middle of it. So I'm going to go over with my mouse and click on that. And right now I'm recording. So the next step, you're basically going to hit play on the cassette player. And that's the button right here. So you're going to hit play, and that's going to start to play the tape and run it into your laptop, where you're going to capture the recording with Audacity. And I'll also mention too something very, very important. Over here on this side of the player, right next to the port where you plugged in the cable, is the volume control, which is right there. And I'm moving it back and forth with my thumb, and pay attention to that, because we're going to really need to adjust that once we get the recording started. But I just wanted to point it out that that's the volume control right there on the side, right next to where you plugged in the cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play on the cassette player. And now the information is being transferred from the cassette player into my laptop. And I can't play the audio, because if I play the audio, I'll get hit with a copyright strike. But as you can see, these sound waves are showing the music that's coming from the cassette player and now is being recorded into my laptop. So the next step, very, very important. You see up here there's two bars moving back and forth. And if you've ever used a traditional cassette recorder, you recognize that. Back in the day, they were called VU meters, or sound level meters, or input meters. That's basically indicating the level of the music coming into Audacity and being recorded onto your laptop. You want to be very careful about that. Now, right now, remember earlier I showed you the volume control on the side of the tape player? You want to play with that. You want to make sure that the levels kind of look like what they're looking like right now. Okay? I'm going to change the volume a little bit. So right now I'm turning the volume down. Turning the volume down on the cassette player, on the Walkman, and you can see the bars are way, way down low. They're very far to the left. That means the recording is going to be way too quiet. We don't want that. So I'm going to reach over and turn the volume back up on the cassette player, on the Walkman, and you see the bars are coming back up again. That's what we want. That gives us a good, healthy recording. Now, we don't want it turned up too loud, because if we go too loud, those bars will be too far to the right. If it's too far to the left, the recording will be way too quiet and way too faint. If it's too far to the right, it's going to sound really loud and possibly distorted. We don't want that either. We kind of want it kind of up enough so that it's kind of like that. Okay, and there we go. So we want it to be, yeah, kind of looking like that. Maybe down a little bit more. And again, it's trial and error. You want to try to do this a few times until you get the level just right. But that's pretty much it. We've just made a recording from a cassette, from the cassette Walkman onto the laptop using Audacity. So when you're finished, when you've done transferring your cassette to Audacity, you can hit stop on the tape player. Okay, and then I'm going to hit stop on Audacity. I'm going to move my mouse over and click on stop. And that's it. I'm done recording. And now that recording is going to be on your laptop. And I'll show you where, and depending on the setting on your laptop, it might go to your desktop. You can pretty much tell Audacity where you want the recordings to go. But basically I'll show you where the recording we just made, where it is located on the laptop. Okay, so what we're going to do, again, this is the recording we just made, and we're basically going to tell Audacity where we want to put that recording on our laptop. So I'm going to go up here, see up here in the top left corner where it says File. I'm going to click on that with my mouse, File, and then I'm going to go down here where it says Export. Okay, so right there where it says Export, I'm going to click on Export. And now it's basically going to export the recording we just made as an MP3 file. And I have it set so that it's going to put it on my desktop just to keep things nice and safe. And it wants to know the name of the recording. You can call it whatever you want. You could put in the name of the artist, the name of the song, whatever you want. I'm just going to call it 234. I'm going to call it 234. You can call it whatever you want. And then I'm going to go over here, and then I go over here to where it says Save. I click Save, and when I click Save, this box comes up. I just hit OK, and there it is. It's saving our recording to the desktop. As you can see, there's the title that I called it, 234, and it's exporting the entire file, and it's putting on the desktop. And it tells you how much time has elapsed and how much time is remaining. Again, it's taking the recording we just made, the sound we just transferred from the cassette into Audacity, and it's putting it on the desktop. And there you go, all done. So that's basically it. We just transferred some information from the cassette onto Audacity. And we're pretty much done. So that is basically it. So that's it. So that's basically how we use a Super USB cassette capture. Again, it comes under a lot of different names, but that's basically what this model is called. But they all pretty much do the same thing. Again, they may be made by different manufacturers, but they all do pretty much the same thing. As long as you know the basic controls on the device, as long as you connect it properly to your laptop, and as long as you understand how to use Audacity or some recording software very similar to that, you'll have no problem whatsoever. And once you get that MP3 saved on your desktop, you can do whatever you want with it. You can put it onto a flash drive. You could transfer it to an MP3 player. If you're old school, you could burn it to a CD, whatever you want. You could do whatever you want with it once you have it on your desktop. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please feel free to leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's always greatly appreciated, and it really helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.